I haven't taken an SUV up this hill climb yet. I've taken, I mean, you've got the Ford Everest and so on, but not a crossover style SUV like this running on a monocoque platform. This will be the first. If any mid-size SUV is going to do it, it should be the Forester. Subaru always, you know, promises off-road capability. It's got like an off-road mode as well. I am a bit hesitant getting up here because if I make it halfway, then I've got to come back down. There is a hill descent control. We'll test out if it works in reverse. But yeah, this is quite steep. It's about 30 degrees according to some of the onboard telemetry that vehicles have showed me. But there's a lot of little dips and bumps and so on. You probably can't see on the camera. That big shadow from the trees doesn't help either because yeah, there's quite a few little jagged, steep little bits, which I'm a little bit worried about with the Forester. I mean, it does offer 220 millimeters of ground clearance, which is the same as some dual cab 4x4 utes, and even better than some of them. I think some of them have only 210 millimeters. So it should be okay with clearances. And you do have plastic bumper bars. So that's kind of not scratch resistant, but it's better than scratching the paintwork, I guess, all around the wheel arches and side sills and all that. Now this has got the petrol engine. I tested the hybrid not that long ago, and there were a few comments saying, you know, why didn't you take the hybrid off-road? Are you getting paid by Subaru or some sort of partnership happening there? No, it was just that I assumed that anyone that would buy the hybrid probably wouldn't want to go off-road, at least this seriously. And I wanted to reserve the off-road test for the petrol model, almost primarily because the petrol comes with a full-size spare alloy wheel, whereas the hybrid has a tyre repair kit. And I thought if I get a puncture, which is, you know, reasonably likely, you've got bits of shrapnel and rubbish all around here, I didn't want to have to fit a puncture repair kit and then drive all the way home at the lower sort of speed limit that's usually about 80 kilometers an hour for a puncture repair kit. And yeah, just stuff around with all that. So I thought, take the petrol. It's the same sort of powertrain. Like the hybrid system in the Subaru Forester isn't like the RAV4, which has an electric motor as the rear diff, if you like. So it's the electric motor is the rear axle. In this, it's not like that. The electric motor is part of the powertrain, the engine and transmission. It just runs through a normal tail shaft differential just like this. So it should be the same getting up here. The only difference is the electric motor provides that instant low end torque. It's only a small, or in terms of low power output electric motor, but it might be able to assist. But sometimes I find with hybrids off-road, it can actually be a hindrance because it's providing that instant power and torque, and it causes wheel spin to happen. So sometimes you just want to slow things down and just gradually go up. So yeah, if anything, the hybrid would be at least the same or slightly worse depending on the conditions because it's got that instant power and torque. Under the bonnet, you've got a 2.5 litre natural aspirated petrol flat 4 engine, 136 kilowatts, 247 newton meters, connected up to a CVT automatic with full-time all-wheel drive. Not a massive amount of power even for this class. Some of the rivals, including the newcomers from China, have got turbocharging, and they're 150, 160 kilowatts seems to be about the average these days. With this, the CVT actually helps a little bit on the highway in some sort of scenarios. Getting up to speed from very low speed, like coming out of a roundabout, then pulling onto a highway, you've really got to push this thing, and it's sort of whining and making that boring sort of constant sound. But once you're up and going, we'll get out into the road and I'll take it for a quick test drive on the road as well. It's actually not too bad, and the CVT actually feels like it helps a little bit. Like it gives you that torque via gear ratio to help maximize what the engine offers, which is not that much. But anyway, let's take on this hill first and see how we go. Inside with the Sport trim, you've got green stitching to give it that kind of adventurous, outdoorsy feel. Excellent build quality as usual with Subarus, like hardly any scratchy plastic. Big touchscreen, and I like the way you've got physical controls for the temperature. And even some of these controls, they're a part of the touchscreen, but at least they kind of stay there. And you've got a lane keep assist thing you can turn off straight away. Go into the vehicle functions to turn everything else off. Emergency lane assist and your lane departure, turn that off. And your driver monitoring camera. So you've got to do that every time you start the vehicle, unfortunately. But it is good they've added some of these buttons down here in recent times. You can also turn the stop start off if you want to. But I'm pretty sure that climate area there remains there all the time. So even though it's not a physical button, it's kind of remains there, yeah. And down below you've got a wireless charger, some other charging options, and good practicality, cup holders, and a center console box. As with the hybrid, you've got excellent rear seat accommodation as well, climate vents, charging options, heaps of legroom and headroom for this class because it does have a kind of upright cabin orientation, the Forester. So yeah, definitely one of the most spacious in this class. And even sitting in the front here, you can see the relatively thin pillars. You've got a little quarter window there as well, so there's no big blind spot between there. And out the rear windscreen, yeah, good view for this class and for a modern vehicle. All right, let's take on the hill climb and see how it goes. To start with, I'm just going to leave it in the standard mode. I'm not going to fiddle around with any stability control or anything like that. You do have a sport and intelligent mode for the transmission and powertrain. Basically, just helps, kicks down a little bit earlier, although CVT doesn't really kick down, but it just maintains higher revs, gives you that sporty response from the pedal as well. But you also got an X mode. I'm just going to leave it in normal to start with. You've got snow and dirt and deep snow and mud. We'll try out both of those if we can't get up. I mean, I'll try out one of them anyway, but if we can't get up, we'll fully maximize that and see how we go. We can put it into the manual mode actually. Just leave it in 1, even though it's not really in a gear, but might force it into a lower ratio. So you can feel the stability control, traction control working its magic. It seems like we're a little bit stuck here. It's flickering away. Give it more power. Slowly, slowly, slowly. That's full throttle. Yeah, I think it's stuck. So I'll put this X mode on. Let's see if we can. Yeah, let's go back a little bit. Okay, so the hill descent control is working in reverse. I can see it flickering away there, so that is good. We'll try it from the bottom in the snow and dirt mode. Carry a little bit more speed. Yeah, it's flickering away, it's trying. That's full throttle. No, I don't think it's going to go up. We can try a different line. Seems to be getting stuck right here, which is kind of the steepest part because the back wheel is right down in a ditch and this wheel is probably in the air. What we can try and do is turn stability control off and just let the wheels free spin a little bit, maybe. Put it into first. It's still flickering away anyway, so there's still some sort of traction control even when you do have it turned off. Okay, we'll try the deep snow and mud mode to see if that helps. Now, X mode, according to Subaru's website, it does various things. It looks at the wheel sensors, it slackens off the powertrain response, so it's a bit more relaxed, so it's kind of like an eco mode, so it doesn't jolt the wheels into a wheel spin frenzy, but it also takes into consideration, yeah, the powertrain gearing, so it will try to maintain a lower gear for better maximum torque and slower speed. And it also says it tries to force the front rear coupling to, it doesn't say anything about locking, but it basically tries to evenly distribute the power between the front axle and the rear axle 50-50. There's no limited slip differentials or anything like that. That means that even when this mode is activated and it will try to do 50-50 front to rear, you can still spin a single front wheel spin for front wheel, for example, or rear wheel, as what's happening up here. The front is going up in the air, it's spinning, the brakes are being applied to that wheel, hopefully sending power to another wheel, but it's just not allowing me to make any sort of progress. But we'll try this mode and see if that helps. I'll just leave it in D, considering that the X mode says it tries to maximize gearing for best torque and whatever. So just leave it in D and let it sort it out. Kind of does feel a bit torquier actually, but we'll go up a slightly different line. I'll keep the speed going, keep the speed going. Oh, almost there. That's full throttle. It almost made it then, but this back wheel popped off the ground. Here we go, here we go. And we've made it. So I just kept my foot flat on the floor the whole time then, and it's constantly calculating, braking the individual wheels that don't have traction, which causes the powertrain to send energy to the other wheels. Main problem now is I've got to go down, because if we go up here it's a little bit too steep, and well, we can have a look at least. But yeah, it seems like this deep snow and mud mode was working a little bit better. I mean, I didn't leave the power fully down for as long as I did just then in the snow and dirt mode. I'm pretty sure I did. My foot was flat to the floor in the other attempts as well, but it just felt like that was slowly making progress, so I sort of kept in it, whereas before it just wasn't moving, it was just sitting there and trying to calculate. So that is definitely a more sort of aggressive setting for off-roading, and it obviously helped. We'll try it again actually, just to make sure it wasn't a one-off fluke. So coming down here, we've got a very steep section on the right-hand side. And the back wheel will pop off the ground a little bit. The sill panels are fine. That's getting pretty close, but not actually touching. Yeah, that is very nice. And we've got the hill descent control activated as well. So in the utes and so on, I attack this right-hand side, but they are very steep and deep little gouges in the surface. And I'm pretty sure this would just scrub out the sill panels pretty hard trying to go up that. I mean, this isn't meant to be a hardcore 4x4, it's just a sort of soft roader with probably the best or among the best off-road capabilities, or at least a promise of the best off-road capabilities of this class. So I'll just try it again. I'll maintain a line more to the left, which is what I had going with the first attempts, just to see. So this is half throttle, now full throttle. That's full throttle. I'm just going to leave it down. It's trying to calculate. It's not making any progress at all. Oh, starting, not quite. I'm pretty sure this would start to wear out the systems if you sat here all day. But I don't think that's going to go up on that specific line. It must have been helped by the fact that I went up slightly on the right hand side, which was not as deep as where I am now. It's always a bit sort of hairy going down in reverse, but we do have that hill descent control helping me out. And especially now I've got the car sort of almost perpendicular with the hill, which is not what you want to be doing, because you know you're more prone to rolling over the side. I'm still quite diagonal. It might not look that serious on camera, or maybe it does look quite serious on the camera, but yeah, I wouldn't want to be in this sort of situation all the time, especially if I did not know the track that I was going up. Because I've been here quite a lot, I'm aware of what's around here. There's no soft mud or anything like that. I know that this, if I just let it go, it'll roll back to where I want it to go. We'll just try that once more though, and I'll take on the right hand side slightly. You can hear the stability control really clicking away. I'll keep the momentum going. That was definitely more over to the right, so it didn't drop down as much, but that's gone up pretty much without any issue. So we'll try the hill descent control now, going back down. So from here you might be able to get a bit of an idea of how steep it is. It's probably, I don't know, 10 meters, 15 meters, and then yeah, quite an incline, 30 degrees, but lots of little dips and bumps and so on, which is what makes this even more difficult. If it was just a straight hill with a flat surface, it still would be a bit of a struggle because it's gravel and it's obviously very slippery, but adding those bumps in just really gets articulation going. The wheels, you know, 2 wheels are off the ground basically, or at least 1 wheel's off the ground, which puts a lot of pressure on the stability control systems. I've got the hill descent control activated. That's feet off the pedals. It's going down nicely. It's not going too fast. It's just maintaining a constant speed of about 4 kilometers an hour by the looks of it. There we go, it actually made it up there eventually. It helped by taking a better line, but I think it's done very well for this style of vehicle. I'll try and take a few others up here just to see how they go. I'm mainly worried about the bumper bars scuffing out on some of those dips, whereas this, it seemed to be pretty good. Like it didn't scrape the bumpers at all, or even the sill panel. Just up here is where it mainly struggled, so I'll try and get the camera nice and low for you so you can see what I'm talking about. But just here, there's a massive dip, but on the right hand side there's a bit of a ridge, which is where I put the front wheel over here, and that seemed to help a little bit. That way it's not, you know, causing too much articulation and then putting a lot of stress on the stability and traction control system. That gives you a bit of an idea of the steepness of the ditch. And then this side, yeah, is obviously another dip just here, which unweights the rear left wheel. I mean, there's probably a few different lines here that you could take and it would go up just as easily. I'm just mindful of that massive rock, but if you kind of went over to this side here, kept your right hand wheel on that ledge there, or that little ridge, and then went over to the right eventually at the end, it would probably go up pretty good as well. But the main purpose of this test was to see if it could actually go off-road, and this is probably the most serious sort of track that I would take on in my own personal car, and it's probably the maximum of what most buyers would be willing to take on, especially in a crossover like the Forester. You know, like even the Utes and so on. It's more aggressive than it looks on camera. And yeah, as I said, if you're in your own car, I think that's probably the maximum you'd want to take on. All right, we'll go on the road just quickly and I'll show you the engine, how it performs, and then we'll do the performance test. So that's about as impressive as it gets for this style of vehicle, I think. I mean, I haven't tested any of the rivals up that specific hill climb, but I don't think they're going to perform, you know, significantly better than that if they get up at all. I think this is probably the maximum you'd expect for this class. On the road, typical Subaru, very good build quality, feels sturdy, feels rigid, no rattles or creaks or anything like that. There is a bit of suspension movement, a bit of wheel travel happening, so great for country roads like this. It really absorbs the bumps. It's just a tiny bit sloppy, I guess. But when you start pushing it, the chassis underneath is actually quite nice. It hangs on, feels like it's got a lot of mechanical grip, obviously with all-wheel drive as well. It just feels like, yeah, it doesn't mind going around corners. The tyres let it down a little bit. They're not focused on performance, obviously. But yeah, I think it's not too bad. I'll just show you the sort of acceleration kick down. We'll slow down to about 50 or something, 40 kilometers an hour, full power. See, it's quite sort of lethargic and gradual in the way it gets up to speed, but once you're already going about 80, the gearing of this CVT seems to be more suited, and it cruises along and coasts along quite nicely. Like from 80, just give it half throttle and it sort of pushes you along. You've got this torque boost, what feels like from the gearbox. So once you're up on the highway and you need to overtake and things like that, I think it's not too bad. It's just getting off the line and that initial acceleration. You can put it in the sport mode and that just sharpens up the throttle response a little bit. I'll just do it again for you. But it doesn't make a huge difference in terms of actual acceleration. Full throttle. So you just sort of kick down a little bit earlier. But still quite slow for that specific test. But again, once you're up and running, I think it's not too bad. Fuel economy, 7.9 litres per 100 is not the greatest in this class. The hybrid is 6.2, which is also not the best for a hybrid. I'm averaging 9.9 in the real world. That's including performance testing, a bit of highway driving actually, and then off-roading just then. So yeah, it's not the best with fuel economy, as Subarus typically are. They've got, because it's got that full-time four-wheel drive system, or all-wheel drive system, it's requiring more energy to turn four wheels. All right, let's head out now to the performance test and see how it goes.